YouTube, what's up? Back again for another daily fishing video here on Andrew Upshaw Fishing. Made it home from the James River, finally. It was a very long drive. I think it was like 18 hours, and that's the only thing about bass fishing that's like really, really hard, other than the fact of being gone and all that, is the fact of how far some of the drives are. Living where I do, fishing the Northern Opens, you know, in that particular division, we're making a long drive. 18 hours is the shortest drive I will make on the Northerns this year, because I got to go to Oneida, which is in New York, lower state New York. And then I also have to go to upstate New York into the St. Lawrence River, Thousand Islands. So both are going to be long drives, but, you know, you got to risk it to get the biscuit, as they say. Today's video, though, we're going to focus on football jigs. It's getting that time of year, and people don't talk about them anymore. I mean, I don't really know why. It's still a fantastic fish catcher. I have a couple different ones that I throw, and I'm going to walk you through a couple of the ones that I like. One of them is actually not a football jig. So we're going to break it down in this video, and I'm going to tell you a couple of my little secrets that I do and when to fish each type of football jig. I hope that y'all enjoy this video. If you can, if you haven't yet, drop down that right-hand corner, hit that sub button if you don't mind, and comment below, what is your favorite color of football jig? Do you even still throw a football jig? I'd love to know, because I actually don't think there's that many guys that still throw a football jig. But I still do. Absolutely. That box goes in my boat all the time, especially when the post spawn hits and the fish go deep. So check out the video. I hope y'all enjoy it, and maybe you'll learn a little bit about football jigs. Alright guys, today's video is going to highlight football jigs and a couple of different ones that I like. I'm going to talk a little bit about color, I'm going to talk a little bit about style, and when to fish each and every one. So, the very first time of the year, or like when I typically start throwing football jigs, in the wintertime, and that pre-spawn time period. So like, as they transition from the winter to pre-spawn, football jig is absolutely killer. But not just this particular one. You know, this is just a green pumpkin chartreuse. I just grabbed one for the sake of the video. It's just a Strike King. I don't even remember what these things are called. Yeah, they are. Just tour grade football jig. I mean, it's very simple. It's a football jig, guys. And the reason it's a football jig, if you look at the shape of the head, it's shaped like a football. It has a round bend hook, and that's actually the style hook I prefer. Weed guard, y'all have seen a football jig. I'm not explaining anything y'all don't already know. But here's the modification I make to my football jig in the wintertime. Just like this. And this goes for about 90% of the country. I take this skirt off. Just like so. So all I got is a jig head. Okay, and you can buy just standard jig heads. But I take the skirt off a ½ ounce typically. I'll go up to a 3/4, but I prefer a half. I just like the fall rate. I go to the half, and I get a hula grub, a 5-inch hula grub, and I put it on there. All you West Coast guys that follow me, y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. It's a Yamamoto hula grub. It's definitely a humongous deal when throwing a football jig in the winter. Ben Matsubu actually taught me that deal a long time ago, and it's no secret. I mean, guys are doing it all over the country, but I take just a football jig like this, put the hula grub on there. I throw a couple different colors, cinnamon purple, green pumpkin. I just kind of mix it up a little bit. I don't think it's really that particular. It just finesses that football jig considerably. They really like to eat it. So yeah, that's actually my number one trick. So December, January, cold water, hula grub, no questions asked. Now, as the fish transition, as they move, as it gets warmer, I will go back and like late February, early March, when the fish are starting to spawn, actually, and I'll start throwing a skirted football jig, just like this. I throw a green pumpkin is basically the color I like. It can have a little bit of orange in it, a little bit of copper maybe. I keep it pretty basic. I change my trailers based off of conditions. So if I need something that has a little bit of action, I'll go to like a rage crawl. If I need something that doesn't have a lot of action, I'll go to a chunk sometimes. I mean, sometimes you don't want a severe amount of action to the bait. So you just got to kind of mix and match and figure out what they want. But in that particular time of year, it is extremely crucial For me, like as it gets a little bit later, I like to throw the skirted football jig. Now, post spawn, that is why we're watching this video. Let's be honest. That's why we're watching it. I have 3 different football jigs I throw, guys. I throw either the standard, the TD football jig, which is the tour grade football jig. I'll throw that one. But one of my favorites, and he's a hardcore competitor. He's not with Strike King anymore, but he was the reason they designed the jig, is the Jiggly Comeback Jig. I don't even know if it's still called the Jiggly Comeback Jig, but that's what it originally was called. But it's a big living rubber football jig. This is a 3/4 ounce. I only throw the living rubber football jig in a 3/4 ounce. Because the deal is that living rubber is going to slowly fall a little bit. And I like to throw a bigger trailer on here. I'll put a full-size Rage, either a Rage Bug or a Rage Crawl. I might even put the Rage Lobster on here. So the really big crawl. If I'm on a place that I think has giants, and I mean like the right ones, that's the football jig I turn to. I keep it really simple in color. This is the color I throw. It's brown. And I will adjust the color of my trailer based off of what I might think that they're eating. If I know that they're like a brown and purple jig, I might put a PB&J Rage Crawl in here. If I think that they are eating more of a green pumpkin color, I'll put a green pumpkin trailer on here, but I'll keep the skirt brown. That's just a little trick that I like to do. And it's not a super secret, but not many guys throw the big mop style football jig anymore. And it definitely gets you those bigger bites. It has a stand-up style head. So when you do get in those situations, that jig will actually stand up. And I think that absolutely, man, it makes that skirt flare. It makes that trailer pulsate. I mean, it's just a really good way to catch fish. No doubt about it. So when I'm mixing up my jigs, I'm like, okay, if I need a little bit more of a finesse profile, I'll go with this one. Just a standard football jig. And if I need some bulk, I need something that's going to get me that big bite. And like, let's be honest, there's a lot of situations where I'm trying to get that right bite that's going to make the difference in a tournament. That's when I go with the comeback jig. Now, one that I've been using quite frequently, and it's actually because of Todd Castledine, is the structure jig. It's a structure jig. It's a Strike King jig as well. But as you can tell, it has a football style shape, but it's a bit flatter. I mean, as you can tell, the line tie comes out flat. It's more of a niche type jig. So I'm going to give you a couple situations where this jig seems to reign supreme for me. And I'm just saying for me. I'm not going to say, like, you might tell me that I'm wrong here, and that's okay. Like, this jig is phenomenal around rock. Denny Brar designed this thing. I mean, he lives in Amistad. So the guy likes fishing rock. He likes fishing this jig on rock, and that place is full of it. So that's what it was designed for. The other time I really like this is if I'm having to slow fish a jig on the outside edge of grass, like hydrola, something like that. This thing comes through grass so good. And way better than a traditional football jig. As you can tell, there's no catch here on the line guide, and that's a big deal. So as you can see, when this thing's dragging, grass will actually snag up on here, and it has a tendency to snag and carry more grass. Well, this one will slide through it way better. And the other cool thing about this, it has a big beefy hook on it. It has an owner hook, and it's extremely sharp. But I'm telling you guys, like the structure jig is become kind of a sleepy favorite of mine. No doubt about it. When it comes to picking the right gear for my football jigs, I kind of keep it pretty simple, guys. So, like, if I'm being honest, like, I don't try to make it extreme. I don't try to use some, like, bunch of different rods. Y'all have seen a lot of my videos by now. Hopefully y'all have. And if y'all haven't, y'all should go check out some of them. But I use the same 7.2 heavy action jig worm rod. It's a Ledge Series rod, Marco's Ledge Series rod. It's just my go-to, guys. Like, I use it for swim jigs, frogs, big worms, you name it. I just use it for a lot of things. I use that jig exclusively, or that jig rod exclusively for all of my football jigs. I don't care if I'm throwing it on 15-pound line, 20-pound line, 25-pound line. I try to keep my line size pretty basic when it comes to throwing a football jig. 15, 17, 20 at max. And I'll only throw 20 if I'm around standing timber like Toledo Bend, that kind of stuff. I mean, Where, like, when I cast my jig out there, I hook a 10-pounder. Like, I want to be able to get it away from that tree without worrying about it and wrapping me up and breaking me off. And that's a big, big deal when throwing a football jig. A reel, a 7.5 to 1. Man, guys, I have this thing about 8 to 1 gyro reels. I just don't do well with them. And that 7.5 to 1 kind of gets the job done for me. But, I mean, if y'all keep it pretty basic, you throw your structure jig, you throw your football jig, have you a couple different colors. I mean, y'all don't have to break the bank with it, but, like, there's a lot of opportunity to get a good jig and get one that's going to fit your situation. If you keep an open mind, if you try some different things, I think you'll be surprised how good the jig still works, even though everybody wants to talk about other things, drop shots, Nico rigs, big worms, things like that. The football jig is still stone cold killer. Guys, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. If y'all haven't yet, hit that sub button. Got another new video coming tomorrow, so make sure y'all check that out. Hope y'all have a great day, guys, and I'll see you on the next video.